Hi guys, Andy here. Thanks for all your questions. One of the topics that really stuck out for me was the amount of people that were asking me about training frequency. I was getting a lot of questions on how to set up programming, what's the best splits, what's good for fat loss, what's good for muscle building. So I thought I'd create a video on my 10 principles to frequency. As you know, frequency is a parameter that we can use, and we must understand these principles if we're going to go and create programming. Principle number 1. Frequency is another method for overload. Now, if you understand programming, overload is a tool that we can use to progress training. So if you understand this as a principle, you can set up your programming and its variety and the way it's going to be over your week so that you can start overloading your client. Principle number 2. Training frequency ties into the law of diminishing returns. Now, what we mean by this is as your training age grows, if you're using the same training frequency over and over again, it becomes less efficient. So we must know ways in which we can develop things in order for us to progress. Principle number 3. The lower the training age, the greater the need for repeated training frequency. What we mean by this is if you're new to training, repeated exposures over the week are important. So instead of having 4 or 5 different workouts, you may only have 1 or 2 and repeat those over a week. Yeah? Repeated efforts of the same training stimulus in order for you to get better at them. Principle number 4. Frequency is super individualized. It's a parameter that needs to be cogged together once you have done all the assessments on the individual. Yeah, your needs analysis, your lifestyle questionnaires, all these things will help you find the best individualized approach for your person. Principle number 5. The greater the tolerance to training frequency, the greater or the quicker the rate of progress. Now, what we mean here is if you are seeing that your client is tolerating things and moving forward quickly, then it is down to you as a coach to find the pathway to progress things. Yeah, if your client is progressing and you're keeping it the same, then the likelihood is you're going to hit the law of accommodation and start training backwards. So we must know when to move things forward, and the greater the tolerance is a good indicator. Principle number 6. Training volume per unit of body part is inversely correlated to training frequency. Now, what we mean here is if in an individual session you're putting a lot of volume per unit of body part, say your chest, then less frequency over the week is needed. Versus if I was only doing maybe 1 or 2 sets on that area and then mixing it up with other body parts, I may need more frequency over my week. Yeah, so this principle here gives you a huge indicator on how you're going to cog over the week. Principle number 7. Frequency is hampered by energy system workload. Now, the more taxing workouts are, the greater the need for recovery. Now, if we don't value this principle, injuries, training plateaus, and negative responses are only going to be happening. Principle number 8. Frequency is dependent on nutritional status or intervention. Now, if we're not looking after our nutritional intake and correlating that with the amount of overload we're giving them frequency-wise, then, like principle 7, the only way you're going to go is negative responses, injuries, etc., etc. Principle number 9. Training frequency is inversely proportionate to our stress levels. If you do not understand the amount of stress a client has, how can we then cog and set parameters on how much stress we're going to put on someone through our training? Yeah, we must understand that training is also a stress, and the frequency in which we give it to them is also important. We must understand this. Principle number 10. Frequency is entirely dependent on lifestyle. There is no point in putting the most perfect frequencies down on paper if your client or athlete cannot get them done. You know, things like work, amount of stress they carry. If they cannot actually attain what you're giving them on paper, it's useless. So we have to do our needs analysis as suggested before. We have to do all these questionnaires and assessments before we create the perfect pathway for this individual. And if there's no room for progression with it, then again, it's just absolute waste of time. So if you need any help with these frequency principles, just drop me a message or let me know how you're getting on when you're trying to use these principles when cogging together training frequencies. And if you're liking these videos, please like, share, and all the rest of it. We're on all the socials, etc. And by all means, keep putting questions down because I will be trying to answer them. Thanks, Andy.